if your ambition is your side hustle to become your actual hustle, the key is not how much you work, it's not even how much time you put in the side hustle, it's every other hour. Because every other hour needs to cut, be put into the side hustle, which speeds up the side hustle to become your actual hustle, and that's what a lot of people with side hustles want to happen. You got your perspective. I just want to be happy. Don't you want to be happy?
And I see these dreamers. I mean, what do you say to them about balancing the difference between dreaming and execution? I mean, how do people work out? Because you've got to dream hard a lot, and then you've got to stop. And you've got to start executing hard a lot. Then you've got to go back to dream, because your life can't be just about executing. It's got to be about dreaming.
That's right. You have to strategize. Yeah, you have to strategize and execute.
Without people saying you change your mind all the time.
First of all, I think changing your mind all the time is the core strength of a human being.
People say to me, and I say, I'm just reassessing what I'm doing.
My dad used to get so mad at me. You just said a week ago that we were gonna sell rosé. I'm like, I changed my mind. Customers came in, I didn't like the way it felt. I changed my mind. Yeah. I think changing your mind is a huge strength. It's funny, I was about to answer and we brought up the change your mind. I think it's the same thing. I think a lot of people don't fire people, don't change their mind because they're greatly insecure. This is an enormous game of insecurity. You know, why do people dream and not do? They're insecure. They inherently don't think they can do it.
The system makes us a bit that way too. I don't know about America, but in this country here, our regulatory environment,
yes,
it sort of enhances this insecurity, which puts you in a position where you can't fire somebody.
Yeah, I've
got some of my guys here,
I'm a lot more educated in the UK version, and I'm aware that the Australian version's closer to that. That is some.
Yeah.
Anything that eliminates merit is bad.
Yeah.
If somebody sucks and you can't fire them, the whole thing's broken.
Yeah, well, I mean, I battle with it all the time. It kills me. And like, I even did a TV show here about where I actually had to say, you're fired. And it's not very Australian to do that because it's considered uncool to fire somebody. But in my business, like, I mean, I'm sorry, I just can't put up with something that doesn't work. More
importantly, it leads to entitlement, and entitlement is poison.
Yeah.
100%. Yes, I do believe that. I do believe that there is a scenario, just like chief brand officers and chief marketing officers are a last 30, 40, 50 year phenomenon. I'd be surprised if in 15, 20 years we don't wake up and most of the major brands in the world have an editor-in-chief. I actually think a lot of the concern of my journalist friends, I always remind them, I'm like, look, there's evolution. Maybe you're not gonna work for the magazine you've worked for, but maybe you're gonna work for, you know, your favorite brand. And so, yes, I mean, I think great storytelling in the form of an incredible writer is something that never goes out of fashion, regardless of the platform that they write on and how it changes. Well, you'll appreciate this. You know, here. Let me tell you how I build credibility, by not trying to sell people something in my posts. You know, like, you know, it's not hard for Nike to build the credibility if they write an article about cross training without mentioning their product. It's not hard. It's foreign. It's not how people are thinking today, but you know, it's not difficult for a coconut drink to talk about, you know, health and wellness without mentioning its drink. They can. This is why I want them to hire journalists. You hire a marketer, she and he's gonna wanna sell. You hire a journalist, they're gonna not wanna sell out.
This is the primary message you get across to people. You've got to grind 24/7. You know, you got to do what you got to do. But my question is really about, with working that hard, as you know, every human being comes into the point where you've got to strike a balance, or people say you've got to strike a balance.
I think you do. I think early, you know, I kind of hit the scene in 2009.
Yeah.
and we were in a global economy meltdown.
Right.
And we were living off of a frothy 2000 to 2007, 8. And I thought that people were underestimating work ethic. And so yes, hustle was something that I was articulating as a foundation of my success. But I only think one should work a lot if they genuinely enjoy it.
Right.
You know, or they have to provide for their family and they're working 2 jobs, and it's almost the extreme in the other way. I'd like to do a better job over the next decade to make sure that my primary message is happiness.
Right.
I mean that.
Right.
That being said, in the extreme overcorrection where people have started branding things like hustle porn or things of that nature, hard work is part of the equation.
Yeah.
But yes, I think burnout or mental anguish is something I'm very scared of. But I do not believe that comes from, I think a lot of people put hard work as the gateway to that issue. I actually think that that is insecurity and lack of self-esteem that leads to that anguish.
So my follow-up question with that comment is quite simply, there is quite an interest, and it's a very popular thing, it's the cool thing to do, become an entrepreneur, right? Everyone wants to be an entrepreneur.
100%.
Like when I was at this event where you spoke, there's about 5,000 people, and I can see everyone wants to be an entrepreneur.
Yes.
Do you think there's a danger?
Yes.
Because not everyone is cut out to be an entrepreneur. Okay, so how do you tell somebody that they've been hustling as hard as they can, but something's not working out? How does one figure out when to give up?
I ask them if they're happy.
Right.
Like if you're hustling your podcast and through sheer will, through live events and pre-roll advertisers, and you're making $42,000 a year, if that's more fun and you're happier than making $78,000 being, an accountant, then I try to encourage that person to live the lifestyle of a 42,000 year person versus a 78,000 year person. I think that I think we have to define our own success, and I think doing what you want to be doing is the ultimate.
Right.
Now,
but there's the practical application of like, you got to look after a family.
Yes,
you got to do all these kind of things, right?
That's a modern mistake in that people usually spend more than they make. There's a lot of immigrants who take care of their family making $35,000 a year. The problem is there's a lot of people who make $200,000 a year and live like they're making $300,000 a year because they want to keep up with the Joneses and they want stuff.
Right. Yeah, I know.
I mean, you can live a lot of ways.
That's one way to be.
Family, I once lived 2 years with my great-grandparents and my grandparents and my parents in a home. You could do that.
Yeah.
Especially 25-year-olds who are like complaining, go live with 7 of your buddies. Like, I'm fascinated by people's misunderstanding of it's not how much you make, it's how much you spend.
Yeah.
Of course, if you take Uber and order out every night and need the freshest, flyest, flexiest clothes, you're gonna need a load of money.
Yeah.
Why not take the train?
Right.
Why not cook every night? Like, people are entitled.
Cool. You know the jungle has its rules, and I just gotta keep it cool. And I'll be treated like a tool. So don't be acting like.
What are the 3 most interesting things about you that don't normally come up in conversation? And you're probably the hardest guest to come up with anything that hasn't been on a podcast before. I'm
remarkably non-confrontational in real life, even though I'm a tough guy on video and stage.
Nice.
I sleep 7 to 8 hours a day.
No.
Yep.
Amazing.
I mean 6 and
It's
5 when I travel. And I genuinely don't care if I'm financially successful.
Do better for yourself. Do better for yourself.
Why we really want to meet with you today.
Thank you.
I think, well, a lot of our users are just starting out. They're side hustlers. They're
Yes.
people at home, trying to make an extra
My
life,
peeps.
do the extra work. So, like, what's your advice to them?
Patience.
Yeah.
You know, because a lot of times when you're doing a side hustle, you can't wait for it to take over your job that you hate. Patience. And then audit your other activities. If your side hustle's ambition is to be your normal life, you have to scrutinize what you're doing on Netflix. You have to scrutinize Candy Crush. You have to scrutinize the movies. You have to scrutinize baseball cards and footy and sneaker collecting. If your ambition is your side hustle to become your actual hustle, the key is not how much you work. It's not even how much time you put in the side hustle. It's every other hour. Because every other hour needs to cut, be put into the side hustle, which speeds up the side hustle to become your actual hustle, and that's what a lot of people with side hustles want to happen.
And I've noticed you going all in on text at the moment. What's your
Yes.
vibe there? Why are you
It
backing that
works.
so hard?
It works. You know, having 70,000 people on a text messaging platform like I do right now converts better than having 3 million followers on Facebook.
And it's that one-to-one conversation, right?
That's right. And it's cool. Like, I grew up loving Randy the Macho Man Savage. If he had teen and the Macho Man texted me back, I'd lose my mind.
You'd be stoked.
I'd be stoked.
Yeah.
So that's why.
Sick. And in terms of, platforms these days, I know you're back in TikTok a lot, and
Yes.
and
LinkedIn.
Do
Please.
if for those starting out again, backing up to the community and those, do they need to make content for all platforms, or do you think they
If
should
they-
hone in on one?
I think both can work, but the reason platforms matter is first matters.
Yeah.
Best always in the end, but first does matter.
Yeah.
And so if you're the first lawyer in Australia to get on TikTok and TikTok becomes Instagram and goes mainstream, there will be dividends there. I think one of my biggest strategies around social media is to start with yes, while everybody else starts with no. No, I'm not gonna be on TikTok, that's for 12-year-old girls. I'm always yes.
Yeah.
Yes, 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 yes. And by the way, the famous yeses of Instagram and Facebook and Snapchat, nobody talks about the non-famous yeses.
Yeah.
I was a yes on Peach. I was a yes on Social Cam. I was a yes on Vero. I put in a lot of time and effort, not necessarily to post, but to watch those platforms that people thought were gonna be the next big thing, and they didn't. But I don't view that as wasted time. A yes culture strategy always works.